So now we'll study about the dimensions of the health. Health is multidimensional. As we have studied earlier, health is multidimensional. The WHO definition envisages three specific dimensions. Those are physical dimension, mental dimension, and the social dimensions. And other dimensions such as spiritual dimension, emotional dimension, vocational dimension, and political dimension, and more like philosophical dimension, cultural dimension, socio-economic dimension, environmental dimension, educational dimension, nutritional dimension, curative dimension, preventive dimensions. These all are the various multi-dimensions of the health, but the WHO envisages only these three: physical, mental, and social, and the other important are spiritual, emotional, vocational, political. As you can see here, physical, mental, social, emotional, spiritual, vocational, political, the seven dimensions of the health. From these seven, these three are the most important: physical, mental, and social dimensions, as envisaged by the WHO. So first of all is the physical dimension. The physical dimension. So the definition of the physical dimension of the health is it conceptualizes the health biologically as a state in which every cell and every organ is functioning at optimum capacity and in perfect harmony with the rest of the body. That is homeostasis. The state of physical health implies the notion of perfect functioning of the body. The evaluation of the physical health. Assessment of the physical health, they include self-assessment of the overall health, inquiry into symptoms of ill health and risk factors, inquiry into the symptoms, inquiry into the medications, inquiry into the level of activity. That is example, number of days of restricted activity within a specific time, a degree of fitness. Inquiry into use of medical services in the recent past, example, the number of visits to a physician, number of hospitalizations. And the standardized questionnaires for cardiovascular diseases, and the standardized questionnaire for respiratory diseases, and the clinical examination, nutrition and dietary assessment, and the biochemical and laboratory investigation. These all are assessment for the physical health. At the community level, the state of health may be assessed by the indicators. So those are the death rate, infant mortality rate (IMR), and life expectancy at the community level. So these are the indicators involved in the physical dimension of the health. Ideally, individual information should be individually useful, but when combined, should permit complete health profile of the individuals and those of the communities. And coming to the mental dimension, it defines the mental health has been defined as a state. Health is defined as a state, but health is not a state. But the definitions are given like this: a state of balance between the individuals and the surrounding world, a state of harmony between oneself and others, a coexistence between the realities of the self and that of other people and that of the environment is defined as a mental dimension of the health. See the mental dimensions. Mental. See, individual and surrounding world, the balance between the individual and the surrounding world, oneself and others, self and other people, and the environment also. So the balance is the mental dimension. See, a state of balance between the individual and surrounding world, a state of harmony between oneself and others. This is a coexistence between realities of self and that of other people and that of the environment itself. See, the balance between these is the mental health. Psychological factors include all the kinds of illness: simple mental illnesses, major mental illness like depression, schizophrenia, and the essential hypertension, peptic ulcer disease, bronchial asthma, etc. All kind of illnesses. Behavioral and psychological and biological dysfunctions, that is disturbance in the mental equilibrium, not merely in relationship between individual and society. Mental health is an essential component of health. Scientific foundation of mental health are not yet clear. No precise tool to access the state of mental health, unlike physical health. See, mental health is an essential component of health. Scientific foundation of mental health are not yet clear. That is, no Therefore, no precise tool to assess the state of mental health, unlike physical health. Psychologists. Attributes of mentally healthy person include free from internal conflicts. That is, he is not at war with himself. Well adjusted. He is able to get along well with others. He accepts criticism and is not easily upset. Third, searches for identity. Fourth, has a strong sense of self-esteem. Fifth is knows himself, needs, problems and goals, self-actualization. And sixth is has good self-control, balances rationality and emotionality, faces problems and tries to solve them intelligently, coping with the stress and anxiety. So the assessment of mental health at the population level. Mental status questionnaires by trained interviewers, organic presence of disease, and the symptoms psychiatric disorder. Personal assessment of mental well-being is also made, and the organic extent of disease can also be made. Like this, the assessment of mental health is performed at the population level. Positive mental health, one of the keys to the good health. Third is the social dimension. So the definition for the social dimension is it has been defined as the quantity and quality of an individual's interpersonal ties and extent of involvement with community socialization. What I can say is social well-being implies harmony and integration within the individual, between each individual and other members of society, between individuals and the world in which they live. Social dimension of health includes levels of social skills one possesses, social functioning, and the ability to see oneself as a member of a large society. Social health, positive material environment, focusing on financial and residential matters, positive human environment, that is for social network of the individual, that defines the social health. Fourth is the spiritual dimension. Spiritual dimension, it is defined as it is the intangible, something that transcends physiology and psychology. It includes integrity, principles and ethics, the purpose in life, commitment to some higher being, and belief in concepts that are not subject to state of art explanation. It simply means the commitment to some higher being and belief. Fifth is the emotional dimension. It defines emotional health relates to feeling rather than knowing or cognition. It's like emotional feel. So the mental health and emotional health are two separate dimensions of human health. Sixth is the vocational dimension. Definition. The vocational aspect of life is when work is fully adapted to human goals, capacities and limitations. It plays a role in promoting both physical and mental health. It is a new dimension. Vocational health is a new dimension. It is a part of human existence. The importance of this dimension is exposed when individuals suddenly lose their job or are facing with mandatory retirement. Vocational dimension, the source of income for many, represents culmination of other dimensions as they function together to produce life success. Seventh is others. Other dimension of health, as we have discussed in the starting earlier, the philosophical dimension, socio-economic dimension, environmental dimension, nutritional dimension, curative dimension, preventive dimension, educational dimension, social dimension, and cultural dimension. These are not medical dimensions. So all other dimensions, all other sectors, which are included in the health, in the definition that is described by the WHO, defined by the WHO, you can see all these sectors, all the above sectors which we have discussed earlier, they contribute to health physically, mentally, socially, well-being, and economically productive life. They all lead to this complete health.